my name is Brooke. Welcome to my channel. I'm 27 years old. I'll be 28 in a month. And I'm just living my life with Pfeiffer syndrome. And I'm really excited because it took me forever, but I want to share my top 15 favorite books ever. I do have a series as an honorable mention at the end, but dang, narrowing it down to 15 was really hard, and I felt like 15 was so much, so I went on Instagram and asked if I should try to narrow it down to 10, even though I really don't want to, and Instagram said they wanted to see 15, so I guess follow me on Instagram if you want to be a part of any question I ever ask. But that was really helpful because I was feeling super insecure about showing 15 books and talking about them. So with that being said, I'm not going to go in full detail of what each book is about, but I am going to say what I liked the most about the book, if I recommend it, which obviously if it's in this video, I do. And I was telling my husband this morning when he saw this huge pile because I had to film it, I was like, man, what I wouldn't do to be able to pull all of what I read about these books out of my brain and then reread them, because I love these books so much. And I'm really not much of a rereader. If you are, that's super cool. But yeah, I just don't really reread books that often, but these books I probably would reread if I felt like it. Let's go ahead and get into the video because I'm just really excited to show you the 15 books that are my absolute favorite, and these are in no particular order. I want to say that right off the bat because picking these 15 books was hard enough. There's no way I could rank them, honestly. All right, enough talking. Let's get into the video. The book that I'm starting with is How to End a Love Story by Yulin Huang, and the reason I'm starting with this book specifically is because it's not even out yet. It comes out in April, and I was very fortunate enough to receive it from Avon Books, but I finished it this morning, and oh my gosh, it made the list. It made the cut immediately. It's basically about an author whose books are turning into a TV show, and one of the screenwriters on the project is someone that she went to high school with, and they have a very traumatic past. It's very enemies to lovers. It's phenomenal. So this comes out in April. I highly recommend picking it up if you like romance. It's also very spicy. Oh my goodness. I do want to say, look up the trigger warnings on all of these books if they have them. I tend to read more darker romance books, darker thrillers. I like the more dark content. It's just more stimulating for me. But I'll be sure to mention the books that do have a pretty heavy trigger warning. The second book I want to talk about is the Mind series. This book is technically 5 books in one, a bunch of novellas put into one thickums book, but I devoured this. It was phenomenal. But this is one of the books that you really want to go into it kind of knowing what to expect. It's got a lot of trigger warnings, and it's definitely not for more sensitive readers. It's very dark, very hard to digest at points. But I think about this book, Lana and Logan, just everything about this book. I'm not even going to describe this one. Look it up, look up the trigger warnings. But if you do like dark romances and you've not read this book, check it out. Delta County by J.L. Hyde. This book is one of my absolute favorite thrillers. It's so good. This is a small town mystery with a lot of betrayal, and it's one of those whodunit books, and it's also one of those books that you really think that you've predicted the big mystery, the big plot twist, but then you're wrong. Everything J.L. Hyde has written is phenomenal. I also recommend Grady Lake and Secrets of Grady Lake, but we can just call those honorable mentions. The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Nethanager. I don't know. I actually watched the movie first, and so when I found out it was based on a book, I knew I had to read it because the movie was so good. It was Rachel McAdams, and yeah, I don't know the guy actor, but the book was so good. The book is also one of those books that is super different from the movie. I read the book right after I saw the movie, and I didn't like the book because it was just too in-depth. I don't know how to explain it, but then I gave it another try, and it ended up being an incredible read. The Words by A. Jade. I would probably consider this a dark romance. It was pretty dark, very spicy. There were a lot of parts about this book that I didn't super agree with. I'm gonna read what a excerpt on the back says. An edgy enemies to lovers standalone romance about mistakes, forgiveness, and second chances. And it is about Phoenix Walker, who is such a talented bad boy. I loved it. It's definitely a slow burn, like it's very drawn out, but I think that's what I liked the most about it, because I liked the characters, and so therefore I didn't mind how drawn out it was. I read this on my Kindle as well. The Perfect Child by Lucinda Berry definitely made my list. I've read all of the books. Actually, that's not true. There is still one Lucinda Berry book that I have yet to read, because I don't like having a really incredibly talented author that I love and then not having anything else to read by them in case I have like a bad day or something. So I do have one of her books. I think it's Under Her Care that I still haven't read. It's on my shelf. I'm saving it for a rainy day, but I've read almost everything by Lucinda Berry. She's so talented. It's definitely more of darker thrillers, psychological thrillers, because fun fact about Lucinda Berry is she is a doctor. She is a clinical psychologist. We're like internet friends, so I feel bad if I'm butchering this. But a lot of her stories are exaggerated versions of like patients or cases that she's read or worked. I'm not really sure all of the specific details. I do know that her thrillers are so good, and they definitely have my heart racing. Oh my God, 28 Summers. I just want to say this. I do not condone in cheating. I hate the cheating trope. However, this is beautifully done. It's basically about two people, and throughout 28 summers, they are romantically involved, and it is just such a tragic romance. Oh my gosh. Ellen Hildebrand knows how to write a beachy summer, tragic at times romance. This one had me sobbing. It also had me very angry, because I really don't like books where two people are very clearly supposed to be together, but they just choose not to be, whether it's certain circumstances or whatever have you. To me, with how much as I love my husband, I just can't imagine there being anything preventing me from being with him. That's the one thing that really ticks me off about this book, is like, just freaking be together. But the 28 summers that they go through are very heart-wrenching, beautiful. So I highly recommend this book if you love a beachy, sad romance. Gotta take a hydration break. I'm drinking the Cosmic Stardust Alani. It's so good. I was taking a break from drinking Alani, but then I realized I don't drink that much soda. I don't eat that much sugar. So I'm allowing myself to have Alani moving forward, okay? This next book, oh my freaking gosh, I wish I could reread this, having never read it before, obviously, but Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan is amazing. I actually have read a lot of Kennedy Ryan. I love her. I usually rate all of her books 4 or 5 stars because they're phenomenal. She knows how to write a romance. Before I Let Go is a second chance romance about a married couple who separate. I can't remember if they separate and get fully divorced or what, but then they end up finding their way back to each other, but a lot of stuff happens in between, obviously, and I don't know, it just like, this one is one of those that I was sobbing at the end. I feel like this one is a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but Swear on This Life had me hooked. This is by Renee Carlino. I've also read all of her books. I think this is phenomenal. It's about Emmeline, who is made aware that there is a book out there about her life, and it turns out the author is like an old childhood lover. And so for her to be just randomly reading this book and it's about her life, her and the author ended things on not very good terms, and so she's just like, what the heck, why is there a book about my life? It is a romance. It's very good. It's been a while since I've read this, so holding it makes me feel all of the feelings that I had when I read it. I loved this one. One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Obsessed. I've read a lot of her backlist. I've not read all of her newer stuff. Taylor Jenkins Reid wrote The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones and the Six, Carrie Soto is Back. I have not read Daisy Jones and the Six and Carrie Soto is Back, but I have read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and all of her backlist. And this is basically about a girl choosing between two men. And honestly, I couldn't even tell which of the men I was rooting for. And I remember when I was reading this book, I was telling my husband about it, and I was like, okay, this is about one guy and here's some information about the other guy. Which one would you think she should end up with? We had a lot of fun placing our guesses, and I remember when I finished it, Joe was like, okay, who did she end up with? And again, I was rooting for both men, so I was also very interested to see who she ended up with. Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. This is phenomenal. This is one of my favorite all-time books, and not only that, but it's one of my favorite all-time books written by a Black author. Not only that, but she's a Black female author, and they also made a really good Hulu series about this. This is about a woman named Dana who ends up time traveling back into slave days, and she's mistaken as a slave, obviously, because she's a woman of color who is sent back in time when all of that was going on. I loved this, especially when her partner ends up accidentally time traveling back with her, and he is a white man, and so there's a part where she has to pretend to be his slave, and obviously he's very, very, very uncomfortable with the situation. Oh my god, it just takes you for such a wild ride. I'm not usually a fan of time travel, but that one is really good. I really wanted to add Colleen Hoover to this list because truthfully, Verity is the book that got me into reading, but I really don't read that much Colleen Hoover anymore. And I remember I was talking to one of my friends about how I wish I could find a book that was very, very Verity vibes, that gave me the same feeling that Verity did. And she recommended The Wife Before by Shanora Williams. And dang, it's not the same plot as Verity, but it definitely gave me the same feeling as Verity. It follows Samira, who just is basically looking for a new change, a new start, and she ends up getting married to a guy who seems like a slice of heaven, honestly, but there's a lot of stuff that's not adding up, especially with his ex-wife, and the things that are uncovered, it's also very whodunit, but the things that are uncovered in this book, wow, it is one of those books that's giving a little unrealistic, like that wouldn't really happen, but it's very wildly, wildly entertaining. And I love entertaining books. I love drama. I love like holy crap books. That's one of them. I have 3 more books to share. Dark Horses by Susan Mihalik is one of the books that does have a pretty heavy trigger warning because it's about a 15-year-old equestrian in training who has a very, very sad and inappropriate relationship with her coach, who is also her father. That is all I'm going to say. It's very dark, very sad, very heavy, but very beautiful. Moving on. A Face for Picasso by a good friend of mine, Ariel Henley. Ariel was born with Cruzon syndrome, which is very similar to Pfeiffer syndrome. The fact that this is called A Face for Picasso, because obviously with genetic disorders, you do have some facial differences. Beauty is subjective and pain is universal. It's just like a memoir. It tells about her life living as someone with a facial difference. It kind of felt to me like reading my own diary, except Ariel had a twin sister that she was going through life with and I did not. But that's one of my favorite books. I really enjoyed reading it. It was very thoughtful, very beautiful. And if you are someone who is looking to learn more about people who live with facial differences, I highly recommend it. The last of the 15 of my top favorite books is My Lovely Life by Samantha Downing. I read this a very long time ago, but it is about a husband and wife duo who are serial killers, and the ending is honestly what sold the book for me. It was pretty wild. Very well done, a really good thriller, very entertaining. I didn't want to have 18 books, but I do have a series that deserve an honorable mention. This is the Kane Brothers series by Megan Quinn, and these are spicy romance books. We have the first one that I read that follows Huxley Kane. Then we have, oh wait, it's called I'm Not So Meet Cute. And then we have So Not Meant to Be, which follows JP. And then the one that I most recently read, A Long Time Coming, which follows Breaker. Don't know why I couldn't remember that. These are freaking spicy, but they do follow three brothers who are very rich, very wealthy, very charming, very attractive, but they're not very good men. They definitely don't deserve the women that they end up with, but all in all, the women end up kind of showing them the kind of men that they can be. And by the end of the book, they deserve the women that they end up with. But I really love these books. It makes me want to read everything that Megan Quinn wrote. But I have this thing where I fall in love with an author because of a book or a series that they wrote. And so then I go back and read everything that they've written, and nothing compares to the thing that I fell in love with. I have a very bad comparison problem, especially when I find books that I really love. It's hard not to compare them to other books by that author. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I love sharing book content. At the end of March, I also want to share the books that I've read this year, like the first quarter. I've definitely fallen back in love with romance recently. So if you have any good spicy romance, dark romance recommendations, contemporary romance recommendations, please leave them in the comments below. Let me know your favorite book. Something I want to do, especially next year, is read books that are the people that I love's favorite books. Like, oh, what's your favorite book? Great, I'm adding that to my wish list. And if you do want to see the books that I'm looking forward to reading, I do have a wish list on Amazon that I send to like my parents and stuff so that they can know the books that I want for my birthday or whatever. Those are the books that I plan on reading next. I'll link that below. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. It was really nice having you here, and I hope you have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see from my channel down below. I love ya.